Let's talk drugs. There is so much information, and yes, even misinformation in our media, online, and just in the general community about drugs. So how do you wade through it all and know what is relevant to you and your students? This short video introduces the topic of talking about drugs. Sedera is WA's leading state organisation dedicated to reducing road-related injuries and the harms from drug use for children and young people in Western Australia. For more than 17 years, Sedera has been delivering successful evidence-based drug and road safety education programs. Sedera is endorsed and supported by the Department of Education, Catholic Education WA and the Association of Independent Schools WA, and receives funding from the Mental Health Commission and the Road Safety Commission via the Road Trauma Trust account. This allows Sedera to offer a statewide consultancy service, develop resources for the classroom and assist teachers and school communities to work more effectively to provide drug and road safety education across the whole school. Sedera's resources, along with consultancy support we provide, enable schools to build a best practice whole school approach to resilience, drug and road safety education. So let's talk drugs. What is a drug? We all have a general understanding of what the term means. However, let's look at it in a little more depth. A drug is a substance other than food which is taken to change the way the body and/or mind functions. People are complex and use drugs for a variety of reasons: to relax, to function, for enjoyment, to be part of a group, out of curiosity, or to avoid physical and/or psychological pain. Most people use drugs because they want to feel better or different. Sometimes this can be a drug that doesn't affect the mind, such as an antibiotic, or a simple analgesic like paracetamol that you take if you're feeling unwell. However, when looking to change our mood, it's usually the psychoactive drugs that people use to achieve this. Even in moderate doses, most psychoactive drugs impair motor control, reaction time, and the ability to maintain attention. No matter how a person feels, they're not as capable as before, which makes driving, operating machinery, even crossing roads more hazardous. Many drugs also amplify mood. This means that if someone is feeling or if a situation is making them feel depressed, anxious, or aggressive, then drugs could make things a lot worse. Drug use is not new. There has never really been such a thing as a drug-free society. Consumption of substances that can change mood and for some create dependencies has been common across cultures since human history began. In fact, references to caffeine consumption have been found in a medical text written in 1909, which details the symptoms of caffeine excess. Drug use is also not straightforward. There are multiple and complex reasons why people use drugs, what type of drugs they use, and at what level they use them. The vast majority of people who use drugs come to no harm, and many may feel that they've benefited from the relaxation, distraction, or the improved intellectual or physical performance that can be obtained by some drugs. That said, there are risks to drug taking, and some of them are very serious. Now, we know that drug use is not new and that it's not straightforward, but neither is how we define drug use straightforward. The use of some drugs is legal. These are referred to as legal drugs or licit drugs and include, for example, caffeine, alcohol, and analgesics. The use of some drugs is not legal. These are referred to as illegal or illicit drugs and include cannabis, cocaine, heroin, and amphetamine-type stimulants. Some drugs are legal substances that are used in ways that are illegal, for example, the misuse of pharmaceuticals. In Australia, we support a harm minimisation approach to reduce harm around drug use. Underpinned by the National Drug Strategy, this aims to promote better health, social and economic outcomes for the community and the individual. This approach works to prevent anticipated harm and to reduce actual harm from licit and illicit drugs. It is a comprehensive approach and has 3 areas of focus: demand reduction, supply reduction, and harm reduction. Harm reduction acknowledges that drug use exists and will continue to exist, so it focuses on promoting harm reduction methods. The strategy also considers 3 interacting factors: the individual, the environment or setting, and the drugs. One of the drugs in the last few years that has seen increased media coverage is amphetamines. Amphetamine-type stimulants refer to a broader group of drugs that also include ecstasy. These drugs have psychostimulant properties and include amphetamines and methamphetamine used for recreational purposes, which are produced and purchased illegally, and pharmaceutical-quality amphetamines, which are accessed through a prescription for treatment of obesity, narcolepsy, and ADHD or ADD. It's also important to note that these drugs may be used illicitly. Methamphetamine is an amphetamine-type stimulant that speeds up the function of the brain and central nervous system. It comes in 3 different forms: powder or pills, commonly known as speed, which can be swallowed, snorted or injected; base, which is a thick oily substance that can be swallowed or injected; and crystals or coarse crystal-like powder, ice, that can be smoked or injected. Ice is usually the most pure form, followed by base, then speed. The purity of ice and other forms of methamphetamine are reported in the 2015 National Ice Action Strategy to be increasing and at the highest level reported to date. Like any psychoactive drug that impacts the brain, there is a risk of harm. Ice can cause psychological disturbances like panic, extreme anxiety, agitation, paranoia, hallucinations, and delirium. The acute effects of ice can be followed by a crash as the drug wears off, leaving a person feeling deeply exhausted. This may last for several days. However, it may take a lot longer for brain chemicals to restore themselves to normal balance. That is, if given the chance to restore themselves without any additional drug intake. Long-term ice use is thought to damage the brain, causing impaired attention, memory, and motor skills. John Rogerson, Chief Executive of the Australian Drug Foundation, says, while ideally we'd like to stop everybody from using drugs, let's be real, it's not going to happen. For those we can't prevent from using drugs, we need to put measures in place to reduce the harm to themselves and the people around them. The take-home message from this short video is that any drug has the potential to cause harm. This is where education and early intervention, key areas that can be addressed through schools, play a significant role. Watch this space for more short Talking Drugs videos.